Hello and welcome to this live webinar brought to you by the Asian Seller. My name is Meghla Bhardwaj and I am your host, and I am joined by three lovely ladies. One more is joining us soon. And this is a live webinar that we are doing to support the conference Branded by Women that is being put up by Danny McMillan. If you haven't signed up already, you should go to brandedbywomen.com and sign up and get your free ticket. It's an amazing conference where you will get to hear from 30 amazing women speakers, e-commerce experts, marketers, and they'll be sharing their personal stories to inspire you, and they're also going to be sharing a lot of content. All right, so this is the last webinar that we are doing in a series of 4 webinars that we've done over the last couple of weeks. And today's topic is very special to me. It's about single moms. All of us here are single moms, and we're going to be talking about how we are managing our kids and how we are doing it all, basically. So welcome, Regina, Anna, and Anna. And we also have Anjali, who's joining us. She's having connectivity issues. But hi, Anjali. She's here.
Hello everybody.
Hi. Okay, cool. So Anjali, we're just going to start doing some introductions now. Regina, do you want to go first and tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what do you do, and anything that you want to share about yourself?
Sure. I was born at a very early age. How far back do you want to start? And I'm only on my first drink. Okay, so I'm in Melbourne, Australia, where it is 9 p.m. So I am drinking bit of a Prosecco here. I sell on Amazon. I have been a private label seller for just on 5 years. Previous to that, I was in a retail business. I am a solo mum by choice and have always been a solo mum. I was 42 when my daughter was born, so I was an old solo mum. And I've always been in business. I was already in business when I had my daughter, and I continue to be in business. So, as I said, I currently sell on Amazon in US, UK, Europe, Australia. I also have a podcast, the Women on Amazon podcast, and I do a little bit of private coaching as well. So that's me, and my daughter and I have been in quarantine or isolation for almost 2 months now, and let's just say that I'm counting down the minutes till school goes back on 9th of June.
Yes, aren't we all? Well, cheers, I've got my wine too.
Yes.
It's not fair. You lot have all got wine. I've got one bottle of coffee.
Time difference. It's 12 p.m.
That's
for
it.
you there, right? All right, Anna Davidson. Do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm from the UK. I've been an Amazon seller since 2012. Initially sort of part-time, as I've just been made redundant from the corporate world and stepped out on the edge of the cliff, as it were. And since then, I've learned so much about the online world as regards to digital marketing. Facebook marketing has been a bit of my thing, building e-commerce stores off Amazon as well. And I also do quite a lot of mentoring and coaching. I'm part of Import Experts, coach and mentor a lot of their students, and also run my own program called 6-Figure Amazon Sellers. Bit of background, went through a very, very difficult time, left a very abusive marriage in 2015, which still kind of gets me a bit quivering when I talk about it. But I'd say that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I'm kind of now here to inspire others that they can actually get through any kind of adversity, and still inspire children and be strong and be successful, really. So recently featured in films as well. I'll just get that in because it is one of my proudest moments. So yeah, just a little bit of a snapshot.
That's brilliant. All right, Anjali, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Anjali. I'm a mother to a 14-year-old boy who is aspiring to be a table tennis player. So I'm raising a sports person at home, which is a marathon. It's a crazy world. His sports career was the domain of his dad, who passed away 2 years back. So it's all landed up in my lap, and I'm handling that and my own media career as a media professional. I run a small content development firm. We do make a lot of videos, we cover events, do a lot of writing, social media, vlogs, etc. So yes, that's me. I'm in India, in Pune, and yeah, so good to be with you all. Lockdown, I'm not feeling it. I'm connected with such beautiful ladies today.
Yeah, all around the world. Awesome. All right, Anna Warren,
Yes,
you want to go next?
right.
Okay, hi, I'm Anna. Good evening from Manila, Philippines, where our lockdown was just eased into a modified community quarantine, which means that we can drink. That's it. So, yay. I am a single mother to a 4-year-old, which is why I'm on mute a lot, because if you listen closely, there are nursery rhymes in the background. And every once in a while, you'll see a little head around this high pop up and wave at you guys. I write for Amazon, so I'm a copywriter. I've been a copywriter since it's a very long time now. So like so long that I can't even remember. And I've been writing for Amazon for about 2 years for Prime Label Studios, which is also based in Manila, Philippines. So we do all sorts of listings, A+ content, infographics, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Cool. It's so amazing. All of you are
I'm gonna
literally
mute the
on
kid
different.
who's fussing right now. Muting.
Yeah, yeah. I was just saying it's so amazing that all of you are in different continents, basically. So yeah, a little bit about myself too. So I'm a single mom to a 9-year-old, and similar to Anjali, my husband passed away 3 years ago from a heart attack, and since then I've been raising my son, and we live in Singapore. And I am, of course, the founder of India Sourcing Trip and also the Asian Seller. And before that, I was in the corporate world for almost 19 years. And I was also made redundant, similar to Anna. So that kind of forced me into starting my own business. All right. So those are introductions. Now let's get started and let's talk about how we raise our kids. So, they say it takes a village to raise a kid, but all of us here are literally doing it alone. So I want to find out from each of you, how do you do it and what are the challenges that you face being a single mom? So, Regina, do you want to go first? You're the first on my screen over here.
Sure. Look, how do I do it? I don't know. I just make it up as I go along. I guess the thing is, because I've always been a single mum, I don't know any different. And so I don't have anything to compare it to. I've always made the decisions for myself and my daughter without any outside, or other influence. So that's been one of the positives. I mean, now that my daughter is 11, she'll be 11 in 2 weeks' time, going on 17, that's posing some other challenges. But in reality, my mother lives nearby. And without her, there's no way I would have been able to accomplish the things that I've been able to accomplish. I had Alexandra when I was in a retail business for the first couple of years, and I literally used to take her into the shop, breastfeed her, and then my mother would take her out for the day and bring her in at 4-hour interviews. It was a women's dress shop, so my customers didn't care that I had a baby that was breastfeeding near the dressing room. So that worked out. But as I said, without my mother, and to this day, my mother takes, well, obviously not right now, but still, my mother takes my daughter 1 day a week for like a 24-hour period. So that gives me a minute to breathe and, do a bit of work if I need to, or not, or go to the movies, that sort of stuff. But as I said, I don't know any different. But I am, both the good cop and the bad cop, which makes it tough, as we all know about that. And, I think we're just all making it up as we go along. And, ask me when she's 25 as to how much therapy she needs to get,
Yeah, totally. Anna Davidson, how about you?
I was going to say therapy. I think it's us that need the therapy. But I realised on my intro, I didn't say that I've got two boys, a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old. No one really prepared me for puberty, and hormones that were going to start kicking in, which happened to my 12-year-old. But I think it's hard, isn't it? When you haven't really got a choice, you just get on with it. I've learned how to outsource certain things, like I have a cleaner and a gardener. But with the lockdowns, that hasn't been able to happen. So it's been quite interesting. So I had a 12-year-old. So we all have different roles in house. The boys get in with sort of chores and do little chores, because I think that's good anyway. I think sometimes I feel a little guilty for things like reading and homework. They're quite independent, but I feel that I need to be doing more together. So I kind of have a certain. It's just not got consistent enough, because I think I have so many evening webinars where they're just going to bed or going to bed after, and it's all a little bit of a rush. So I think that's the only thing I'll beat myself up about. Yeah, we're a team, so we all do different chores and get stuck in, really. And I think, like Regina said, you just get on with it. You don't, if you kind of you're on your own. I mean, when I say compare it to what it was before, I feel like it's a pure peace now, because with my ex-husband didn't do a great lot as regards to this. If anything, caused more drama towards bedtime. So I'm quite grateful that I control everything, That sounds like I'm a control freak, but I quite like the organisation and control and sort of, leadership in my coming from just me. Because I think sometimes disputes got you about different ringings and different ways. So yeah, I just get stuck in, and we all have our roles.
Right. Brilliant. So, oops, what happened? Where did she go? I think she had a patchy internet connection. Okay. Yeah, Anna, so do you sometimes feel that it's difficult to make decisions? Because that's something that I struggle with. Like previously with my husband, we used to discuss everything and talk about things and talk things out and everything. But now it's just me taking all of the decisions. And that's something that I really struggle with. Do you find that an issue as well, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I haven't actually thought about that, but now thinking about it, I'm always thinking about with my parents or my good friends. One of my good friends got older boys, so I think sometimes she's already been through it, So yeah, I think you're right. I think it's always good to discuss it with someone.
Yeah.
And you kind of sometimes need reassurance, don't you, when you go through something new with a child. So as they're growing up and, like you say, making decisions on things. So we're dropping like flies.
What's going on? Everyone's dropping out here.
It's busy time for the internet at the moment. Everybody's at home. They're all streaming.
Yeah. Yeah, I really struggle with that, just deciding, and I doubt myself all the time, if I'm making the right decision, and I have to sometimes make up lists of, pros and cons of anything that I do, and I have to talk things over in my head, and yeah, that's something that I've really struggled with over the last couple of years. So, oh, Anna, there you are. You good?
Well, Philippine internet. How good can you be?
Okay, cool. So Anna, do you want to tell us about yourself? How do you manage everything? What are some of the challenges that you face?
Oh.
Oops. Is she frozen again? Did you hear me, Anna?
Yeah. Is that okay? Like how is it now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Am I good now?
Yes, you're good. You're
okay.
Good.
All right. Excellent.
I just wanted to ask you, what kind of challenge?
So the village thing.
Yes, the village. Oops. It's not a very good connection. Okay, looks like she's frozen.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue talking while they reconnect over here. So the other thing that I, kind of struggle with is finances. Of course, single income. What sort of challenges do you face? Anna, let's start with you. What sort of challenges do you face, or was it not an issue? When you were married.
So I think, you see, I've always been the breadwinner. So even when I was with my ex-husband, I was the sort of breadwinner of our family. But starting your own business obviously has its challenges and ups and downs. And with a lot of the things I've been through the last few years, with lots of court hearings and solicitor costs as well, on top of everything else, that was quite a struggle as regards to the extra money that I needed to be fighting my court hearings and things. So I think I've just always managed to do it. Like I've had periods of time where I've really been resourceful in my spending. And then it's really nice to like splash out when it's a different scenario. So yeah, I think it's not been a big challenge for me, that, because I was always financially independent before. But really, just the problems. It's not really been single mum. It's been more building up your business initially.
Right.
I think starting a business is challenging. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think how I just always managed to be resourceful on times of ink a little bit down. Really, it's surprising what you can make with a bag of.
Yeah, totally. Regina, what about you? So
Yeah, look, the same. I mean, for me, it's again, I've always supported myself before I had a child, and now that I do have a child, it's just the allocation of resources. It changes from my shoe collection. It becomes dance lessons or music class or schooling, or we just priorities change, and again, I'm thrilled to be able to make that choice. And being in business, it gives me a little bit more flexibility. And as Anna said, we do become very resourceful, and it's amazing how much more resourceful you need to become when you've got someone else to support. I think there have been times in my business where if I didn't have a child, I would have probably packed it in and just gone, yeah, it's all too hard, I'm off and go traveling. But when you've got a responsibility and someone else to different mouth to feed, I personally have taken it a lot more seriously, and that's been great for my business.
Awesome. So Anjali, can you hear us, Anjali? Is she frozen again? Oops. Yeah. All right, Anna Warren, let's come to you. So what sort of challenges do you face? Let's talk about the village.
Well, like Anna, I outsource. So there's a lot of delegating things. Like I feel very lucky because from the time that my daughter was about 2, so she started education very early. Okay. So I had huge caretaker problems. Like a lot of the Filipinos, they've got nannies that either live with them or that they stay out or whatever have you. I didn't have that. So I had a very hard time finding help to take care of my daughter. So when she was little, I was working in retail, like a lot of the ladies here. And there were times that I would bring her to the mall where I was working, but it wasn't always possible. So, that would be an issue. Like, why is Anna bringing her baby? And, there were times that it just wasn't possible, like had meetings or whatever. So I ended up, like, out of desperation, putting her in a class one morning. And that just started it. Like, she was about 14 months and she just took to it like a fish to water. She loved the art, she loved the exercising, and she loved like the structure, and she loved the idea that she could eat cookies during like the morning. So that was a big deal. And so that was a consistent thing. Like, now she's 4. So for the past, what is it, like 2.5 years, she's been in school with people who've been really able to take care of her. And, I think it was Anna who was talking about the good cop, bad cop thing, or was it Regina? Like, you're kind of both. But her being in this school, her having started education from a very early age, I've been able to be the bad cop. I've been the one who's a disciplinarian. I'm the one who's very firm and very strict. And it's like, you get to do this. These are your boundaries. Knowing that when she goes off to daycare, she's surrounded by people who she considers family now. They're not just teachers. Like, she's super close to them. So for her, it's like, they're so patient, they're so loving, and they'll, they really nurture her soul and her spirit. And then, so it's she's got that balance, you could say. And then, of course, there's also my parents who live about like an hour away with traffic. So, I've got that village, and I've got so much support wherever I look, that it's never really been like, you hear the stories of single women like breaking down in the bathroom because it's just been so hard. And I feel very lucky that that's never happened to me in 4 years, So maybe, I don't know if it's because, like Regina, I've always been a single mom. I've never dealt with a husband. I've never dealt with a daddy. I've never had to, there's never been any of that drama. It's always been my terms. I call the shots. So I suppose I would guess that having that sort of, control is a nasty word, right? It's not control. It's more like that responsibility, that this is the environment that I craft for her, that I cultivate for her, that it's easier for me to look at her as like, she's like my little buddy. She's like my partner, together we figure things out together there. And you can hear in the background trying to get my attention. Like, yeah. Okay, I'm muting myself again. Okay.
Sure, yes. So Anjali, can you hear us now? It's not. Anjali, can you hear me?
Hi, guys. Today, out of all the days, it had to happen today.
So
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Do a thumbs up.
We can hear you. So can you?
Okay.
You can't hear
It
us?
had to be today, huh? Out of all the days. Out of all the days, it had to be today, when I was waiting for it to speak something to everybody. But yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to type this a message to her, and hopefully she will see it. Let's see if she sees it. So I've sent her a private message.
It's a chat message.
Yeah, it's a chat message. We can hear you. Or not.
Yeah, no.
No. I think she's
Okay.
frozen again. That's a bad connection. Yeah. Anna, do you need to step away for a couple of minutes? Okay, Anna needs to step away. Okay, so let's talk about traveling. So that's something that I used to do a lot when my husband was around, and for me personally, it has been really affected. I don't have family here in Singapore, but I do have a helper who lives with us, and oops. Yeah. So, but I do feel leaving my son, with the helper, and he doesn't feel comfortable with her as well. So that's been a big struggle for me. And even though I want to go and travel and speak at conferences, I found it really difficult to do. In fact, when I did India sourcing trip last year, I took him with me, even though he had to miss 2 weeks of school. But I had to take him with me. So how do you guys manage? Regina, do you want to go first?
Yeah, look, again, in my previous business, I was traveling to Italy and France twice a year and Hong Kong twice a year for sourcing. And in the first 2 years of her life, she came with me. She came with me on every trip. And I remember there was one of the very early trips, just before we left, I fell over and tripped and actually almost broke my arm. So I'm walking through, and I remember this, through Singapore airport. I had one arm in a sling, a baby in a front, pouch, trying to push luggage. It was, looking back, I don't know how I did. I must have been nuts, but I did, because I didn't know any different, and that's what you need to do. after she was 2, I stopped taking her with me. It just got too much for her. She wasn't quite as placid. And so, I cut my travel down. I don't go to as many conferences as I'd like. From next year, I'll pick and choose, and I might bring her to some, like, for example, the Empowering Women's Conference that I was at in February. If it's still running and we're allowed to travel in January, I think it would be great. She'll be 11 and a half by then, and she'll be old enough to soak in some of the contents. I'd love to be able to take her. But when I do travel, my mother moves into my house and they sort of hang out together. It also means that if I do go to a conference or a meeting, it's very, very short. I don't take any time either side for leisure. It's all just purely just get in, get out as quick as I can to do my work, which is, okay. But it's only short term. That'll change. In fact, our big plan is in 18 months' time, again, depending what's going on in the world, but we plan on taking a year and traveling together for a year,
Wow.
just backpacking around the world. And that's pretty much been my goal from when I started this business, is to create a financial and a lifestyle option that we can do that. So, short-term pain for a long-term gain. So my travel is a little bit cut now so that we can travel together more in the future.
That sounds amazing. Yeah. Anna, what about you?
Yeah, I think it is definitely a challenge. It's probably one of the things that I've got frustrated the most about, because you kind of, as mums anyway, you want it all, don't you? You want your career, you want you to be a good mum, and then you've also got the single mum on top of it. Sometimes you feel a bit of an alien, I think. As regards to like things that happen in the school where families get invited, and we always the one on their own. I kind of got to the point where I don't really care what people think, but you notice that you don't get invited to the couple thing to some things. I know we're talking about travel, so I've gone on to this. But when confidence speaking, events and things like that, I've had to compromise. Probably you, Meghla, where you've got to get the balance. So sometimes I've done the whole thing of take the boys with me, but it's always very challenging to do that. My parents don't live locally; they live in the same country, but they're a 3-hour drive away. So I have had childcare and babysitters, but like you, Meghla, I think I haven't got that full trust with, especially like overnight stuff. I think it will get easier when they get older, and I mindset of it's only a few years, isn't it? They grow up so quickly. Already, my 12-year-old going on 15 is showing that he I heard yesterday my uncle go, "You're not my dad. Stop telling me what to do." So he's in that leadership role in the house, But yeah, I think travel is a challenge. And you've just got to try and do what the best you can. And sometimes you have to refuse opportunities that you may otherwise sort of grab straight away. You've got to prioritize, haven't you, really?
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. Anna, can you hear us now? Anna Warren? Yeah. Anjali? Anjali's frozen again. Anjali, can you hear us? No, looks like Anjali's connection is still patchy. All right, Anna, we were talking about traveling, like business travel. So do you travel? And you were at Global Sources Summit in Hong Kong, right? When you were working with Purchase Graphics.
Yes, that's where we met. I remember.
So, but how has how does this affect your business travel?
Well, was it Regina who said that she's in and out? I'm the same. Like I don't stay extra days for to party with friends or whatever have you. It's always, and so Anthony Confrancesco, like he's big in the Amazon community as well. Like he's always handled the flight details, and like he's a sweetheart. He always books my flight the minute that the conference ends. So there's me like rushing home to Manila, no matter if it's the red eye flight, just so that I can be there when she wakes up, or snuggle her while she's asleep. So as for when I'm there, I've been very lucky because my parents traveled a lot when I was a kid. So they were bankers in the 80s, and travel was just a huge part of our lives. Like, I grew up abroad. I grew up in several countries. If we weren't moving, they were traveling from business trip to business trip to business trip. So I guess like the very first time that I announced to them that I was going to be traveling for work, like they weren't even affected. They were just like, okay. Like, they were expecting it. Like, they were like, yeah, it's in our blood. Like, of course you're going to travel for work. So then there was me, like, micromanaging my daughter's life, like with this extremely long Excel sheet and like all of the emergency numbers, including like allowances for what she was going to eat. And like, here's the time you're going to pick her up. And here's the time she's supposed to go to sleep and how long she's supposed to take a bath for. And now I look back on it, I'm like, oh my God, stop. So yeah, I guess it was, I mean, I went from like the helicoptering, nervous mom. Like, I remember the first time that I was at Global Sources, she had a fever. So it was a bit of a nightmare because I was coordinating with her pediatrician on Viber at the same time that I was talking to my dad on Facebook Messenger. And I was like, thank God I have a good phone that can accommodate all of these different connection apps, so I can, sort of keep an eye on her in that way. But so the funny thing is, when I go to another country, part of it will be, even just one night, it'll be like, let me explore the city, or like, have drinks with friends or whatever have you. And since I spent a lot of my youth in Hong Kong, I have a lot of friends there. In fact, her godfather is there. So it's always a matter of like, when I'm there, there's always one evening when I kind of separate from the business thing and go spend time with my crew. But that will almost always involve a trip to Toys R Us. Almost always. In fact, I don't know a time. Like, I was like, one trip, I was like, oh, I got some free time. I got an evening with like nothing. There's nothing on my list. So I'm gonna like maybe get a drink, do some shopping, and me things, like me time. And then I realized I don't know how to have me time anymore because I went straight to Toys R Us. And then I went straight to the pharmacy and bought all sorts of like stuff for my senior citizen parents. And then I went straight to the McDonald's because like McDonald's in Hong Kong has excellent Wi-Fi, and my feet were killing me. So I stopped at McDonald's and I called my family and I was like, hi, how's my daughter? And I was like, this was supposed to be my me time. So complete failure. So, in terms of like traveling, I guess when I do travel for business, it's really just business. It's really just for the sake of like going there and I'm in and I'm out, and I'll buy a toy, I'll buy a souvenir, and then that's it. So,
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I use travel for is sleep. Sleep.
You've had sleep?
Oh, do you know what?
Can you share?
Well, I'll tell a story. My very first trip to Hong Kong, when Alexandra stopped traveling with me. So she just turned 2, and that's when the airlines want to charge you, crazy fares. So I wasn't paying for her to come. And I was in Hong Kong for some meetings, and I was in a Starbucks, and I met some very good-looking DHL pilots who invited me to go partying with them in Hong Kong that night. And it's the first time in my life, because I've been partying in Hong Kong previously, and the first time in my life I actually said, you know what, I'm going to stay in my hotel and sleep. And and I did. It was the best, because it was the first, because I breastfed my child until she was almost 2. So it was the first time that I actually had a good night's sleep on my own in over 2 years. It was amazing. So that's one of the things I do when I travel, is I get to sleep.
Yeah, incredible. So talking about me time, I mean, do you ladies get any me time? Do you plan me time for yourself? And do you feel selfish when you're taking your me time?
Can we define me time? What does that mean?
Toys R Us shopping.
You alone and nobody else, no kids, just
Oh,
you.
you mean
whatever,
when I'm in the shower? Yeah. That's what you're talking about?
You're alone in the shower? Where'd you leave your child in?
In front of the cartoons. And like 15 minutes in, she's calling me, Mommy. Yeah. Usually I leave her in her high chair, because that's like prison. She's listening to me. So, I'd like, stay in your high chair. Can I please take a shower by myself? Now she knows how to get out of her high chair by herself. So yeah, not even the shower's me time anymore.
What about you, Regina?
Well, as I was saying, aside from this current situation, normally on Friday mornings, I drop my daughter off at school and my mother picks her up and keeps her, and I don't collect her until Saturday afternoon. So that gives me a little bit over 24 hours. It's supposed to be date night, which ends up generally being me on the couch with the cats watching crap TV. Because half the time I can't be bothered going out. It's like, oh, me time is. I'm very happy just to chill, watch crap television. So I will often on a Saturday morning get up very early and do some work, or I'll take myself out somewhere nice for breakfast, or go for a walk, or that's my me time. So I get that once a week. It started when I was in my shop and we were open late, so I had to do late night shopping. So that's how it started. So I used to say to my mother, "Look, can you take her that one night?" And I work late. And then after I closed my shop and I'm now online, it was actually my mother and my daughter who decided that they still wanted to keep this tradition of one night a week. Yes. I didn't ask for it. They decided to do it themselves, and I'm like, yep, fabulous, love it. So that's my me time. But yeah, I don't do much with it, but it's nice to have it. And of course, for the last 8 weeks, I've not had that. So it's been, like most people.
Yeah, like everyone around the world.
Well, like everyone, absolutely. So we have gone here. We've been allowed to start visiting other people's houses as of last week. So we have gone and actually visited Grandma for the first time. But I'm not quite sure how long before we start overnights again.
Right. Anna, what about you? What does your me time look like?
Yes, Regina's literally 24 hours. That sounds fab. I think I'm a little bit like Anna that it's me time happens in the shower. Although I think as they've got older, it's a lot easier. When they're younger, when Anna, what's your little girl called? Anna. You've got a 4-year-old, haven't you? I think it's challenging when they're that age. But they get a little bit older, a little bit more me time with the household. So I tend to stay up quite late because that's my me time of just chilling out, maybe watching a little bit of Netflix before I go to bed. Although I end up watching loads of podcasts or videos. And I think I get to go away, like to China trips or the India trip when that happens. That's kind of like my me time as well, even though it's work, because I think I've been just so fueled to be successful in my business that I really enjoy it. That it sounds so cheesy, doesn't it, saying like that? But it is a bit of my kind of escapism from stuff, really. I think it is definitely important to have me time, even if it's just like a bath at the end of the day with lavender oil and meditation music. I tend to do that quite often, and the boys got used to it. Like Ruben will go, "Mum, do you want me to run a bath?" and stuff. So, but actual time away from them is really difficult. I've had, I can have like the odd evening. My parents, because they're 3 hours, would have to come and stay. So, if I was going to, Hong Kong or China, it's fine. But they're not there just to have. That's why I said I was really envious of Regina. Having your mum around the corner is great. But yeah, I've had different sort of childcare. They've just not been consistent enough, really. And you just get to the point where you just think, I'm not going to just leave my kids with random people. Even though at times I feel like it. So, totally. Yeah, I think it's a challenge. You just got to get your bits of time when you can.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Times have changed. When I was growing up, my parents worked 2 or 3 jobs, and I was the eldest of 2. I was pretty much 10, and I had a 5-year-old sister when my parents would be working most, certainly on weekends, they'd be working. They'd just leave us alone. We didn't have babysitters. We'd come home from school, we'd wait. But these days, my child won't stay home by herself for a couple of hours. She might stay for half an hour while I go to the supermarket, but that's pretty much it. And she won't believe me when I tell her, well, I was looking after my 5-year-old sister when I was your age. What are you doing?
Good point.
Yeah, now that's illegal though. Like so I have this single neighbor, bless her. She's so cute. She says to me, "Why don't if you don't get me time, why don't you just go out?" And I said, "Well, who's going to watch my daughter?" And she goes, "What's wrong with just leaving your daughter at home by herself?" And I was like,
"Oh, not at 4, not at 4."
I was like, "Well, I know, right? I know."
Okay, 10 is one thing, but 10 is okay, but 4, I mean, no.
Yeah, no, it's like, no. Yeah.
Okay, so
one day I'll tell you.
So someone's posted a comment here. We don't know who you are. Can you, if you're watching this webinar from a group, you need to go and click on the link in the post description, the StreamYard link, and then give StreamYard access to see your name. But she's saying, oh my God, girls, I feel so normal listening to you. I end up staying up till 1 a.m. every night to have my me time, and morning starts at 7 latest. Really need sleep, but me time is winning over. That's good. Who else is watching here? So, all of you watching, if you have any questions for Regina, Anna, and Anna, why don't you type them in over here? And keep watching until the end, because we have a surprise guest who we're going to bring on towards the end of the hour here. So it's really a pity that Anjali's connection wasn't working, because I wanted her to share her story as well. Maybe another day. So, okay. What are some of the some nosy questions that you've gotten from people that people have asked you being a single mom? And for me, of course, the most common question, especially in India, is, are you going to remarry? When are you going to get remarried? And, your son needs a father and you need a man, and all of that. So yeah, I'm glad I'm away from the family, and also I don't get pestered a lot. But whenever I talk on the phone, they're always like asking. So I get asked that a lot. But what about you, Regina?
Well, I have been asked, commented more than once that I'm my child's grandmother rather than mother. People just make that assumption. Technically, I am old enough to actually be her grandmother. But still, it's not nice to to have people make that assumption. There's a lot of questions around, where is her father? People sort of do want to know the story. And, I choose not to share that publicly. And basically, it's not anybody's business. People make assumptions around, did your husband leave you? It's like, well, I never had one of those. There's people just have assumptions based around what's going on in their life. And it's water off a duck's back, really. I've never been somebody who takes on other people's opinions or expectations. My family are pretty cool, so they gave up asking me about a husband long time ago. So yeah, I haven't had anything aside from being mistaken for my child's grandparent. There hasn't really been anything, certainly recently, that I can think of. And my daughter's changed school recently, so she's the one that fields more of those questions around, oh, you don't have a father, why don't you have a father, where is your father, and all of that stuff. So she tends to be more at the coalface of those sorts of questions than I am. And so we sort of have to come up with strategies for her to be able to answer those questions, because, yeah, she gets asked.
Yeah, and that's something that I am also worried about. I mean, my son hasn't been asked that question, although, no, he was asked once, and he was literally in tears when that happened. Somebody in class said, oh, I know that your father died and blah, blah, blah. And then he felt really bad about that. But yeah, otherwise, what I'm worried about is that he's going to see other kids with their dads, and he's going to say, oh, why don't I have a dad? And, he's going to feel lonely. So that's something that yeah.
Look, I was thinking about this before at my daughter's previous school. They used to have a father-daughter evening for Father's Day. And it was like a social games night. So I just used to show up. And for the first 3 years, I was the only woman there. And then the last 2 years, they started opening it up. And the last one, there was all the parents were there. It wasn't just father and daughters. So that was really good to see that progression, because I just used to, as I said, rock up. Well, I'm both the mother and the father, so why shouldn't I be here?
Yeah.
drinking beers with the other fathers.
I love
Because
that.
I didn't want my daughter to miss out on the evening, because it was a social night for her and her friends as well. So it's like, well, why should she miss out just because she doesn't have a father in her life? So we just used to go anyway.
Right. I love that attitude. Anna,
Yep.
Davidson, what about you?
I think, yeah, I'm with you guys. I think I've had, family assuming that I'm proactively looking for the next husband.
Yeah.
And I'm so not. And then other people just making assumptions and different things. But I just think it's quite funny. I've learned. I think I went through a real shame period where I had to get over that, and that's why I publicly talk about the whole domestic abuse thing, because I was really embarrassed for so long, and it held me back with a lot of areas in my life. And now I think I don't really care. When you've had that embarrassment, police outside your house, the school. So I've had kids can be really cruel, can't they? I did it recently with my 9-year-old with his friends saying you haven't got dad, and then my older one saying your dad's easy and things like that. But I think actually these are what make our children sort of stronger earlier, because it's something in their life, whether it's about their dad or something else, someone's going to say something, you'll be able to be a little bit thick-skinned on other people's opinions or comments, because anything is an adult, isn't it? So but yeah, I actually don't. I'm not interested in jumping into the next relationship. And I think it's funny what people think. I've also got mixed race children. I've had a lot of. I've had even one of my sons not think that I was mum, and that was a gen not a thing. So we laugh, the boys about different comments. I remember having ridiculous sort of prejudiced, racist comments when they were babies. And I just used to say randomly silly. I used to think if someone says something stupid to me, I'm going to say something stupid back. And I remember this lady going, "Oh, what a beautiful baby! My friend's got a coffee-coloured baby too." I thought,
Oh my God.
so I went, "Oh, he's not mine." And I adopted him from Africa, and I just walked off. If someone says something ridiculous, I'll just come back with something ridiculous. That's the point. I don't really care. It's about how you feel and how you boys are, and how I've always wanted to make sure that they're mentally strong, because life's tough. We don't know what's around the corner, and we've got to get through anything. So that's kind of where I see it.
Exactly. They are watching us, right? I mean, they are learning from us and watching us. In fact, I find that sometimes my son, he lifts me up. I find that sometimes when I, I'm kind of feeling a bit depressed or down, he comes around and he kind of tries to cheer me up. And so, yeah, it's made him more mature, I think, having this experience. So, Anjali, can you hear us now? You're back.
Yes, I can hear you. I think a lot of people are working from home today in my area. I think they are doing heavy duty work. Their bosses have given them too much work.
Or they're
just out of all the days today. I know. Maybe there's some new show.
Yeah.
Apologies for going on and off. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes.
So, Anjali, tell us.
I agree.
You have
agree with you, Meghla, here.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So I just taking off from where Meghla was saying, how our children make us stronger. So like I said, it's going to be 2 years since my husband's demise. And recently, a few months back, I was having some challenges at work, and there were some challenges with family. You know what he said? He said, only a volcano, a tsunami, or earthquake can top what we've already gone through, Mom. So, hey, no need to worry, we'll be fine.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
how do you
So what were
manage?
you asking, Meghla?
I was asking you, like, what are the challenges you face being a single mom? You're just doing so much over there. Plus, of course, Adi is a budding sports person as well. So how do you manage everything?
Yes, thank you. So, as because you're raising a sports person, you have to take care. Are they having their meals on time? Are they getting their enough proteins or carbohydrates? Are there tournaments? Are they being enrolled regularly on their tournaments, their routines? Oh my God, it's packed chock a block. But it's been very difficult since I don't even know the game. I don't know what is a counter, what is a push, what is a top spin, what is a back spin in table tennis. And to be able to connect to my son on that level, it was really hard. The only thing I think helped me was honesty, that, hey, I don't know this. You tell me. I think the fact that he started all over again to tell me about his life, his career, his sports cocoon, which was mostly there because of his dad, that got us closer, really got us closer. And yes, we have had anchors and family in neighbors and friends and relationships. But I think instead of looking without, we looked within. The core of our family is me and my kid, right? So when I started thinking, it's not I'm just being flummoxed by loneliness, by this bewilderness of being alone and managing so much alone. Let me look into the fact that this 12, 13-year-old boy is also without a father. How is he feeling? What is he, what are his realities? Once that empathy, even as a mom, you may lose empathy with your own kid in the humdrum of life. Life is sometimes so fast paced and can be cruel, and you lose that kindness with your own children. And I suddenly realized my strength is from within this core group, that I have to connect back to my son. And that has given me more strength than definitely the Meghla is there, also many other friends, mom, sister, father-in-law, people like them. But yes, the two of us, and I'm sure it's so much similar stories for all of you also.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just the two of us, Aditya and me. I mean, we have to manage, and sometimes it gets tough as well because we have our arguments, and he doesn't want to, Regina is smiling there. Right? It gets really tough and it's frustrating at times because you almost wish that you could just go into a room and lock yourself and let somebody else take care or manage the tantrum. But yeah, you have to like be composed.
Oh, let's be honest, we feel like punching people then, don't we?
Totally, yeah. How do you manage the anger and frustration? I want to ask all of you. How do you manage that? I mean, I'm sure you have, times when you have arguments and they're not listening to you, not doing their homework or whatever. How do you guys manage that?
Yeah, my favorite at the moment is when I sort of ask her to do something and it's just a blank out no.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Like how do you counter that? It's like, well, yeah, so just finding new ways to communicate once they reach different ages. It's the way that I used to communicate with her when she was 4 doesn't work anymore. So I've got to change how I communicate to get something out of her, because it's all very much about the no now, and it doesn't matter what I say. I'm wrong, and if I make suggestions on things that I know will work, it's like, no, that won't work just because they're coming from me. And being able to understand that it's not actually about me, it's about the fact that it's coming from me and it's about the relationship. I take a deep breath, walk away, and come back, come back to it a little bit later. But we're both pretty hot-headed. So yeah, that is very much a challenge. I think back to when I was a teenage girl, and I'm amazed my parents let me live past the age of 14, to be honest. So, so I'm sort of now thinking, okay, well, how do I not create the sort of relationship that I had with my parents when I was that age. And it's thinking back to that and thinking, okay, well, this is what my parents were doing. What can I do that's different so that there isn't that disconnection? And it's, you know, it's tough, and, you know, constantly learning. You know, I spent an hour this morning talking to the school counsellor to be able to get some strategies around communication and how communication changes now that she's older. So, you know, it's tough. It is tough, but we have to take it on ourselves. You know, nobody else is going to do it for us.
Exactly.
And that's part of being a responsible parent. Because we, you know, at the end of the day, we want what's best for our children, and sometimes we just got to suck it up. And as much as it might hurt my pride, you know, I often do sort of have to suck it up because that's not good for her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Totally can relate to that. Oops, what was that? Does anyone else want to share? Anjali, do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So, definitely many agonizing and angry moments. So, I let them wash over me. I don't deny any feeling. I'm frustrated. I'm furious. Angry. I want to throw things around. I don't, but I would. But I feel it. And earlier in initial time, I just thundered through the times. You know, I don't even know what I did. But recently, I've started thinking. I've realized that you know, children are holding a mirror to us. If I'm having an argument, and I would say, "Why are you doing this?" He said, "But you did it the other day." You know, straight, pat comes the answer, right? So, and oh my God, I did. You know, so now I don't deny my emotions, because that would be putting a cap on a volcano in a way. I just, I'm trying to get more aware how to respond to them. So yes, I'm angry, but okay, go scream in the bathroom, not in front of him. But yeah, no, I'm not trying to deny my feelings, but yes, I'm. There are something which I found very helpful. Are a technique called mindfulness. Maybe you've heard of it. There's a whole movement around being mindful, being watchful of what.
Oops, is she frozen again?
She's right. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, let's wait for her to reconnect. Okay, so our special guest is waiting backstage. Before I bring him on, I just want to go around the table over here once and ask you, all of you ladies, what is the one piece of advice you have for single moms or single dads? Regina.
Just breathe, you know, just sometimes you got to just take a deep breath and let it just let it go, and that, you know, tomorrow's going to be, because at the end of the day, I think whatever we do, and I make a point of with my daughter, and she knows that no matter how angry I get, that she's still loved. And I think that's, I make a real point of that. And I also tell her that there's absolutely nothing she can do to stop me from loving her. And I think that's the base that I work from. And we have our knockout, drag out fights, but at the end of the day, we both know that that the foundation is there. So, you know, at the end of the day, we just got to, just breathe and keep going. You know.
Yeah, totally agree. Anna Davidson.
I think, my tip would be, don't blame yourself, don't beat yourself up thing, because I think every mother has that, whether you're a single mum or not. So, you know, just speaking to friends and stuff when I've shared things that I've been bothered about. So you can only do what you can do, and try and have a bit of fun through some of the challenges, because you can find, if you just flip something on its head, you can actually laugh about some disastrous things that have happened or whatever. So don't blame yourself for anything.
Yes, good advice. Anna Warren, how about you?
Breathe. Have a good stock of wine in the cupboard. Forgive yourself, and try to get. I mean, trust in the village. I mentioned earlier. I used to be this massive helicopter mom, until I think it was, I can't remember if it was one of my parents or somebody as well who was involved in her upbringing, part of the village, as it were, said to me, your daughter is going to be fine, and I realized that that's so true. Like whether at the end of the day, like the things that we focus on as single mothers, as single parents, like we tend to analyze everything, and everything is just so big, I think, because we don't have that other person to bounce ideas off of. So it's not like I have a spouse that I can talk to at night and be like, what do you think about this? Like, I read this thing on the internet, like about parenting, and what do you think about this? Like, there's nobody like that. Right? So at the end of the night, like, when you're doing your Netflix and wine thing all by yourself at 1 a.m., you're like thinking to yourself, am I doing the right thing? And the bottom line is, yes, you are, and I realized that, like, it doesn't matter if is she fed? Does she have a roof over her head? Is she smiling? Does she get exercise? Does she eat veggies once in a blue moon? Then yeah, she's okay. She's okay. She has friends. She's a smiley kid. And one thing that my mother taught me when I was growing up that I feel is so important now that I have a daughter is never let the sun go down in your anger. So no matter how bad we may fight, no matter how frustrating it may get, no matter like Anjali, I don't hide my emotions from her. I tell her I'm stressed, I'm furious, I'm frustrated right now. But at the end of the day, before she goes to sleep, it's like, I love you and I will always love you and I will never stop loving you. And there's nobody in this earth who loves you the way I do. So yeah, I guess, just calm down and have a glass of wine. That's the only advice I can give.
That is very good advice indeed. All right, looks like Anjali dropped up again. So let me bring our guest over here. So hello, Danny.
Hello, guys. How are we doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
Yes, yeah, good. Lots to do between now and next Wednesday's launch, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Danny. I mean, this has been such the conference hasn't even started. And with all of these webinars and podcasts that all of us are doing, we're already feeling so inspired. So thanks a lot for putting together this conference branded by women. That's absolutely amazing. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the backstory? Like how did you come up with the idea and why are you doing this conference?
Well, there's a multitude of reasons. It kind of started back in when we done Seller Sessions Live last year. I think we find that with a lot of conferences, it's about 90% men, 10% women. With Seller Sessions Live, for some reason, I can't confirm why, but it's about 35% women, 65% men. And it kind of part of it came from what, a lot of my team were women who work with me. And the other reason was that Athena took a lot of the women outside of the building. It was a beautiful sunny day. It was June last year. And then they'd done a video and stuff together. And I could see something there, but I'm thinking, how can a guy put a women's conference on, right? So there's that point. And then there was a beautiful message that come from, there's a lady called Hannah. She said she felt super inclusive. The speakers were down to earth. It was nice not to go to a conference and feel like it's like full of testosterone, it was a different vibe. So that was another reason behind it as well. And then I go on the road and I speak at a lot of conferences with other women and I've seen, some people not been treated right and I've had to step in and stuff. And I didn't like that. That annoyed me. And that made a big impact. I've got a 14-year-old daughter as well, and I want her to be inspired. Suppose I can relate as well to the single parent things like my mum brought me up. She'd been married more than once, but when it come down to it, it was always down to us two. It was her who pushed me in a pram when she was 18 or 19 through the snow. But yeah, there's many reasons behind it as well. Is that I spoke to Melissa Simonson and she explained to me the difference between content at a male conference with women there and the kind of content that you'd get at a women's conference. How people express themselves. They want to tell a story. And it's a different perspective on things. And it's like, well, I won't be the first or last person to put on a women's conference, right? So, but if no one else is going to do it, why shouldn't I do it? But how do you do it was key, right? And so the only way we could find out how we do it is like, how can I put this together where I'm not involved and it's women inspiring other women? And this is where we come up with the concept by having hosts. So my job the way I see it, my macro of this is the platform is there to inspire as many people as possible. I want NHS nurses on the front line who have sent me messages because they're bleeding patients and stuff and not getting PPE. And I've been supplying PPE to people on the front line through donations, through people, wonderful people in our industry. There might be an opportunity for them to go, do you know what? I can do branding. I can do listing optimization. I can do copywriting, and it can take them off the front line and move into this new economy that I believe we live in now. I call it the mind economy, or whatever you'd like to call it, where we're using our brains to make a living now, more so than a physical aspect. You know, at some point, AI and all the technical stuff will come in and replace a lot of manual labor jobs. But yeah, there's a multitude of reasons to do it. But I think ultimately what it comes down to is that I had to find a way where I could take a step back. You know, it's like this is the first podcast I've been on out of 20, because I say to everyone, look, I don't want to come on the podcast. This is huge, guys. This is what you do. But I think we may have found the way to do it. And that is by having a team of people and putting all the speakers in the press run, on the podcasts, on the live shows. And it becomes more of a unit thing rather than it's Danny from Seller Sessions putting this on. The speakers are the front people. Does that make sense? And I think that's how we've managed to do it overall. Obviously, Kerry, who works with me, who puts together Seller Sessions Live, works on all of our events and stuff. She feels strongly about it. And there's a lot of reasons, but we had to find a vehicle of how do we do this with me not being on the front line, if that makes sense. And I'm hopefully we'll find out next week. This is how it could be done. And then next year it takes on a life of its own. And no one has to actually know I'm involved in whatsoever. And there'll be another set of hosts and another set of speakers. Does that make sense? So this whole thing will then just stand on its own and they'll never know I'm involved. It's only at the moment they know I'm involved because it came out through our community first. But I see it bigger than this. What we're doing here, what you guys are doing is bigger than our initial community. We just need to see how we can get it out into the wider world.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. So you've, of course, put together the entire agenda and you've looked at the topics and all the presentations and all. So how do you think women present differently than men, in terms of the topics that they cover, the content that they cover, the perspective? What are some key differences?
I think with mainly with women, they're naturers, right? I think women are brilliant at branding. I think women are more sensitive. They are able to convey a story better than men can do as well. And I think this conference, because I've read and listened to every 36 plus presentations, and I can see a clear-cut difference between the way a guy presents, as I fly around the world as, speaking on stage. Yeah. But I think guys are more like tactical, and it's mainly a lot of guys are more into technical things. Like guys are into things, women are into people. Does that make sense? So there's in most cases, this is a broad stroke, and this is an observation from a guy. So I can't, say that's the gospel or anything, but they're my observations. And it's interesting to see. I won't reveal it all, but like when you're watching all of these presentations, there's a theme that runs through it, that you can see which people will see next week. And that's what I'm looking forward to as well. But I'll keep that as a surprise.
Awesome. And so what are some of the outcomes that you expect after the conference? What sort of changes do you foresee might happen, especially, in the e-commerce industry, but even outside of the e-commerce industry? I
think we'll see more women on stage. I think you've got no excuses now. If a 44-year-old guy with a beard can go around the internet and find 36 women like high-powered women who are successful to speak at a women's conference, I'm sure there are plenty of guys out there who can put them same people on at their conferences. I've actually had a couple of people I won't name who said, that's brilliant. Like we were really struggling, like, because you were doing a thing the other day saying we need to see more women on stage at conferences. And I agree, right? So one side. But then there are people men who run conferences are struggling to find women to put on stage because they're not easy to identify. If I take it back to when I started the podcast, it's very difficult to get technical marketers that are women onto the podcast. I'd reach out to people and I'd get ignored completely. The reason I was able to now get more and more people on is because people meet me at conferences. from there you build a relationship, and it's so much easier. So I think we need more women at conferences, which I think will be the outcome without a doubt. You brought this to the attention the other day. I think more guys tend to ask if they can speak than women do. So I think that comes down to women should go, do you know what? I can stand up there as well. I'm going to ask them. You only have to look at Yana, who spoke to someone 4 times and eventually got through there. So I think hopefully with the event, people will see it and go, I can do that. And we'll also see that more of these events will sign up for free for Branded by Women, watch it and go, brilliant. I'll have Regina for doing XYZ. I have such and such for doing X. Does that make sense? Because basically what we're doing with national PR campaign, all of these podcasts, email blasts, Facebook ads and everything else, we're hopefully showing people, look, there's plenty of people here. And some of these people at the conference is their first time. So it's about 20% is the first time. And that comes, is like, you can do this. I want you on board. I will coach you through it if you want it, but I believe that you can do it, and it's come out really well. So this could be the start of their careers as well. But ultimately, I'm hoping that the visibility out there will say to people, you know, great, I'll have that person at my conference, and then over time you'll see these changes. That's what I think, but you may not agree. I'm not sure.
I totally agree on that, and I think that's definitely going to happen. We're going to see more women at regular conferences, whether virtual or physical conferences.
But I do encourage women to reach out more. Honestly, if you want to speak at events, definitely don't be afraid to reach out, and I think that's where that will be very helpful as well.
Exactly. If you don't ask, you can't get a yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. So Regina and Anna, you're speaking at the conference, right? What are your topics? Anna, do you want to go first?
So my topic is my personal story. So it's the title, moving from domestic abuse to being featured in Forbes. But I'm also focusing on how I create brands, premium brands. So, kind of convert a $5 item to a $50 item. So, yeah, that's the technical bit.
Regina, how about you?
I'm talking about something that I've been obsessed with for the last 3 years, which is chatbots, and how in the current launch climate, how you can use a very simple chatbot to rank for keywords and set it up very quickly and easily without being a technical person. So that's my presentation.
Yeah. And I'm also speaking, of course, and I'm also sharing my personal story and my journey over the last few years. So that's...
So I'd like to add a comment here as well, is what Meghla's story and Anne, in particular, the two of your stories are they're incredible. And I think that's another thing. We go back to the storytelling stuff. And I think that's the difference between women presentations and male presentations. I think more of the storytelling is done, but you guys have had to come back, talk about make way for comebacks from setbacks. You guys have had a real run, and so you've been very brave, and proud of you both.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we've got one comment here. So Melanie saying, so much respect for you, Danny, and the rest of the ladies behind this event. Yes,
hey,
absolutely. All right. So, Danny, thank you so much for putting this together. And I've had so much fun putting all of these 4 webinars together and talking about so many topics that are very close to my heart. And I have been inspired and learned a lot myself. So all the very best to Branded by Women. Where are your wine glasses, ladies?
Oh, mine's finished and mine's empty.
It's a bit early in the day for me, but yeah.
Anna, where's your cup?
It's got a coffee.
There it is, empty. Yeah. All right. Well, cheers to you, Danny. Thank you very much for all that you're doing.
Danny.
And
Pleasure.
we're really looking forward to Branded by Women. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.